The billionaire laughed as the dusty old car rolled off the transport truck. It sat under years of dirt and neglect, its faded paint barely visible beneath layers of grime. Rust crept along the edges, the tires were flat, and the interior looked like it had been abandoned to time itself. Workers standing nearby shook their heads. Even seasoned mechanics looked at it with pity. To everyone watching, it was nothing more than junk. But for one struggling single father standing at the edge of the crowd, that broken car would become the miracle that changed his life forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness, second chances, and never giving up can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. Michael Carter had spent most of his life fixing things other people gave up on. At 38 years old, he lived in a small rented house with his 10-year-old daughter Emma. Life had not been kind to them. 3 years earlier, Michael's wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their daughter while trying to keep food on the table. Every day began before sunrise. Michael worked long hours at a local repair garage. The pay barely covered rent, groceries, school supplies, and medical bills that still lingered from his wife's treatment. Most months ended with difficult choices. Sometimes he skipped meals so Emma could have what she needed. Yet despite everything, Michael never complained. Emma was his entire world. Every evening, after exhausting shifts, he helped her with homework, cooked simple dinners, and listened to her dreams about becoming an artist one day. Her smile was the reason he kept moving forward when life felt impossible. But lately, even Michael's determination was beginning to crack. The garage owner had announced layoffs. Business was slowing. Michael feared he might lose the only stable income he had. Then came the day that seemed to make everything worse. The city was hosting a luxury vehicle liquidation event organized by billionaire businessman Richard Langston. Known for his enormous collection of exotic cars, Langston had recently purchased dozens of vehicles from private estates around the world. Among them was one particular car that nobody wanted. It had arrived from an abandoned European estate. Records were incomplete. Documentation was missing. Experts believed it was simply an old, heavily damaged collector car with little value. When reporters asked Langston about it, he dismissed it publicly. According to him, the car wasn't worth restoring. It wasn't worth storing. It wasn't worth thinking about. He called it worthless. The statement spread quickly. A few days later, the vehicle was scheduled for disposal. Michael happened to hear about it from a customer. Curious, he visited the storage yard after work. The moment he saw the car, something felt different. Years of experience had taught him to look beyond appearances. Most people saw rust. Michael saw details. Most people saw damage. Michael saw history. There was something unusual about the design, the hand-built body lines, and the craftsmanship hidden beneath decades of neglect. He couldn't explain it. But his instincts refused to let it go. Using nearly every dollar he had saved for emergencies, Michael purchased the discarded vehicle for a tiny fraction of what even a normal used car might cost. Friends thought he was crazy. The garage owner thought desperation had clouded his judgment. Even Michael questioned himself during the drive home. But something deep inside told him he wasn't making a mistake. For the next 7 days, Michael devoted every spare minute to uncovering the car's story. During the day, he worked at the garage. At night, after Emma went to sleep, he sat in the dim light of his workshop. He cleaned. He researched. He inspected every inch. Slowly, secrets began emerging. Under layers of dirt, he discovered an engraved identification plate hidden beneath a damaged panel. Then he found unusual manufacturing marks. Then came the breakthrough. Michael contacted an automotive historian who specialized in rare European vehicles. The expert's response arrived early the next morning. Michael read the email 3 times before he could believe it. The car wasn't ordinary. It wasn't even rare. It was nearly priceless. Decades earlier, only a handful had been built by a legendary coach builder whose creations had become mythical among collectors. Most examples were believed lost. Several had been destroyed. One had disappeared entirely during a period of political unrest overseas. The vehicle sitting in Michael's garage appeared to be that missing car. His hands trembled as he continued reading. If authenticated, the car could be worth millions. Michael stared across the workshop. The rusted machine looked exactly the same as it had yesterday. But now everything had changed. For the first time in years, hope entered his heart. Still, hope wasn't enough. Authentication required evidence. Experts needed verification. Collectors demanded proof. The next several days became a race against time. Michael documented every detail. He photographed serial numbers. He compared historical records. He contacted museums and specialists around the world. Each response brought increasing excitement. The evidence grew stronger. Word began spreading through collector communities. Soon, people who had ignored the vehicle entirely were suddenly paying attention. By day 6, major auction houses were calling. Collectors from multiple countries expressed interest. News outlets began reporting the discovery. Meanwhile, Michael remained remarkably calm. He still packed Emma's lunch every morning. He still drove to work. He still repaired ordinary vehicles. Yet inside, his life stood on the edge of transformation. On the 7th day, an emergency auction was organized. What happened next stunned everyone. The auction room filled with wealthy collectors, investors, museum representatives, and automotive enthusiasts. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Michael sat quietly in the audience. Emma sat beside him, clutching his hand. The auctioneer introduced the vehicle. Bidding opened. Within seconds, numbers climbed higher than Michael had ever imagined. 100,000. 500,000. 1 million. 2 million. 3 million. Gasps echoed through the room as bidders continued competing aggressively. Michael felt his heart pounding. Emma looked up at him with wide eyes. Neither of them spoke. They simply watched. The numbers kept rising. 4 million. 5 million. 6 million. The room buzzed with disbelief. Then came the final battle between 2 determined collectors. The price surged again. 7 million. 7.5 million. 7.8 million. And finally, $8 million. The auctioneer's hammer slammed down. Sold. For a moment, silence filled Michael's mind. The crowd erupted into applause. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed forward. Emma threw her arms around her father. Michael hugged her tightly as tears streamed down his face. Years of struggle. Years of sacrifice. Years of wondering whether life would ever get better. All of it seemed to pour out in that single emotional moment. But the most powerful part of the story was still to come. The next morning, news of the sale dominated headlines. Among those reading the articles was billionaire Richard Langston. The same billionaire who had publicly called the vehicle worthless. The same man who had dismissed it without investigation. The same man who had thrown away an opportunity worth millions. Reporters quickly sought his reaction. To his credit, Langston surprised everyone. Instead of making excuses, he admitted his mistake. He acknowledged that Michael had seen value where others saw trash. He praised the single father's persistence and vision. And in a rare public statement, he said something many people never expected to hear from a billionaire. He said that success often belongs not to the wealthiest person in the room, but to the person willing to look closer than everyone else. The story spread far beyond the automotive world. People weren't inspired by the money. They were inspired by what the money represented. Michael hadn't won because he was lucky. He won because he cared. He paid attention. He believed something could be valuable even when the world declared it worthless. In the months that followed, Michael paid off every debt. He purchased a modest home for himself and Emma. He created a scholarship fund in his late wife's memory. He opened his own restoration workshop, giving jobs to mechanics struggling to find work. Most importantly, he never forgot where he came from. One evening, long after the excitement had faded, Michael stood outside his new workshop watching the sunset. Emma sat nearby sketching in her notebook. The air felt peaceful. For the first time in years, the future no longer seemed frightening. It seemed full of possibility. Michael realized something important. The car had never truly changed his life. What changed his life was the decision to believe there was value hidden beneath the surface. That lesson applied not only to vehicles. It applied to people. To dreams. To second chances. To every broken thing the world was too quick to abandon. And perhaps that was the real treasure he discovered. Not $8 million. But proof that hope can exist in places others overlook. Before we reach the ending, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "Never give up." Let's fill the comments section with positivity and remind someone out there that their breakthrough may be closer than they think. As this story comes to an end, if Michael and Emma's journey touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to people around the world. Because sometimes the world calls something worthless. Sometimes people laugh at your dreams. Sometimes life covers your potential with dust, pain, and disappointment. But hidden beneath all of that may be something extraordinary. Just like that forgotten car. And just like you. The next chapter of your life could begin the moment you decide to see value where everyone else sees nothing. And that single decision might change everything forever.